You're listening to Speaking Stellar Girl with Teri, an interview series that inspires women to live their most stellar life. Teri is the co-founder of the Stellar Girl movement, and she is sitting down with women all over the world to hear about the key moments in their lives and how they live boldly, compassionately, and ultimately became a stellar girl.
Welcome to Speaking Stellar Girl. I'm your host, Teri, and I'm thrilled today to have Heather Brooker joining me. Heather is an award-winning journalist. She's an actress. She has appeared on over 40 films and television shows. She has the trailblazing role of a multimedia entertainment reporter for NBC Los Angeles. Heather has also created an exceptional podcast, which I find extremely funny, and it's uber popular, and it's called Motherhood in Hollywood, where she engages with fellow moms in the entertainment industry. And so welcome, Heather. I'm so thrilled to have you on Stellar Girl.
Thank you, Teri. It's so nice to be here. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Thank you so much. So you are often on the other side of this, where you are a journalist. So how did you get from one to that role these days? Like, how did you get there? Tell our listeners.
Well, in a nutshell, I actually went to Oklahoma State University, which is where I'm from, and I had a theater scholarship to Oklahoma State. I loved acting. I loved performing. I loved making people laugh. And I sort of had this panic halfway through my college years. And I didn't have a whole lot of support from home about being an actor professionally. And I thought, what am I going to do with my life? I need to find a career that is going to be more stable and that I can actually, make money in, instead of going to New York and trying to make it on Broadway. And I wasn't a triple threat. I'm not a dancer. I think I can sing in the shower, but compared to like Broadway style singer, that was not me. And honestly, in LA and moving to California was never something that was on my radar. It never seemed like it was even a possibility. So I just kind of thought, what's something else I could do that I enjoy? And I enjoy storytelling, which is ultimately what actors do, is we tell stories. And I got into journalism, and I started really loving the idea of telling stories in an interesting way and being sort of the watchdog for the American people and like trying to uncover things. And, I really got into it. And so I did that for years. I traveled all over the country and all over the world as a reporter and an international correspondent. And
won many Emmy Awards as well for your journalism.
Yeah. And I got to a point where I was like, I really miss making people laugh. Like, it's one thing to talk about crimes and murders and all of this stuff, but I really loved making people laugh. So I was having sort of a crisis of confidence, or being like, this isn't what I want to do. So my husband and I said, you know what, let's pack up and move out to LA. Let's just see what happens. And I came out here and I got an agent and I started acting in TV shows. I've been on The Office, The Mindy Project, Grey's Anatomy.
I love Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
You played a nurse.
I played a nurse. Every once in a while, I'll get a text from somebody that goes, "Oh, I just saw you on Grey's Anatomy," and that was years ago. I filmed that like years and years ago.
And it's still running today.
And it's still running. Yeah. There's a lot of shows I did. My very, very first show was a show called Monk with Tony Shalhoub.
I know that show.
I know. Yeah. It's so good. My first official TV role. Like, I think I had a smaller one before that, but yeah, I just really loved acting and performing, but underneath it all, I still worked in journalism. I just wasn't reporting on camera. So I was a producer and writer here at a couple stations in LA. And then several years ago, my boss at the time said, hey, I love what you're doing with Motherhood in Hollywood, the podcast I had created, and this sort of social media stuff I share about movies, entertainment, things I love. And he was like, what if you came and did that for us as an entertainment reporter on our digital team, and sort of became like this multimedia entertainment reporter. So that's how I kind of blended. My worlds just sort of collided. I had thought that reporting side of my life was gone, and that chapter was over, as so often happens when we are moving through our chapters in life.
Reinventing yourself.
Yeah, you're trying new things. And I was like, oh, I guess I do have this skill and this passion for this storytelling. Why not just kind of combine these two? So I feel really lucky. I get to do a job that I love. I get to be on camera and be creative, but I also still go on auditions and for, TV shows and movies and stuff like that. And I feel really lucky that I get to do that. I know that's not the case for everybody. They don't always love what they do, but I don't take a second of it for granted. That's for sure.
That's fantastic. And that's what we talk about at Stellar Girl. We have passions and we follow them. You were just on the red carpet at the Oscars.
Yes.
I loved your mint dress. That was a great choice.
Thanks. Thank you. Well, the red carpet this year was very limited. They were like, you can come down and like shoot something, just like some pictures or what's called a stand up where you're talking in front of the camera. But they wouldn't there was only like 2 or 3 press outlets allowed to be on the red carpet on the day of. So I sort of did my own photo shoot. That was like, here's how I would pose if I was on the red carpet today. So I like made my own red carpet Oscars moment, which is fine. I will never pass up an opportunity to pose for a picture.
No, and you do that so well.
Oh, thank you.
I just recently watched your trip with your family to Hawaii at the Westin in Maui, and you guys renewed your vows, and that is so special. A marriage of 20 years in Hollywood, right?
Yes, crazy.
So yes, and it takes a lot of patience.
Yes,
but he's your best friend.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think the difference is that we didn't meet here in Hollywood. We were college. We started dating. I should say we got to know each other in college and became friends and then started dating after he graduated. And I think that's the difference. Had we met here, like I have so many friends who are in the dating scene in LA and it is brutal.
Okay.
It's hard. It's hard to date because you never know if someone's intentions are pure or if they're trying to use you to get to somebody else. You don't know if they are looking for they're holding pattern until they find somebody they think is hotter. It's really terrible. Oh. It's really terrible. And so I think the reason we have lasted is 1, we are best friends and we respect each other immensely. And also we didn't meet here under Hollywood's eye. That's why I think so many relationships in this town don't make it. Like some people don't make it because they don't meet under the most genuine and natural of circumstances. Like if you meet somebody and you're dating them and you've already seen every movie they've been in, you've seen tabloid stories about them and you think you know who they are. And then you're like, wait, this isn't the person who I thought you were. And there's also a little bit of a stunted growth and maturity, especially for child stars or people who become famous when they're younger. There's a saying that they kind of are, they stop growing maturing at the age that they become famous. So if someone becomes famous at like 16,
like Britney Spears.
They're sort of stunted at that growth because she has not had to deal with what real normal average people deal with since she was 16 years old. Like, could you imagine?
No.
So that's why I think you see so many relationships crumble out here. But that's why my husband and I, it's a different situation.
Well, your dynamic on your podcast is really refreshing. And you both have such great like radio voices, obviously thanks. You being a journalist and then him being on Spotify. I think that you guys make such a good team. So let's talk about your daughter a little bit, because you just mentioned, being someone young growing up in Hollywood. Do you want this life for her? Obviously you will let her fly free and be what she wants to be and encourage her along the way. But does she have any actor hopes?
I've always thought, and I've always said that I would wait until she told me that was something she wanted to do. I have so many friends who the minute they got pregnant and they had their baby, were sending them off on auditions and like pimping them out to be in TV shows and commercials and all of this stuff. And I was very clear about making sure that I didn't impose my dreams on her, because the last thing I ever would want is for her to grow up and go, why did you make me do all that stuff? I never wanted to do that. What if she was like deeply private and deeply shy? I would feel terrible for pushing her out into the public eye. So I've always said I was going to wait until she said, hey, this is really fun, or I want to try this, or I want to do what you do, or something like that. So I'm very cognizant of that and very respectful of that. Now, that being said, she is very funny. She's very outgoing. She loves, she has a acting
She's a
class at
product of
school.
good parenting. Look at that.
Oh, thank you. She has an acting class at school that she really enjoys. She loves doing improv and making people laugh, and she will save up a joke in her mind so she could say it to her class to see if they laugh. So I see that in her. I see those characteristics and those traits in her of a performer and somebody who wants to do that. So I'm just sort of, and I will gently guide her if that's something she wants to do, but I want her to be her choice.
Yeah.
And not something that I'm like, here's what you're going to do. You know, there's so many momagers out there and parents, you know, who are just pushing their kids into acting in it. And I don't know that a 2 or 3 year old has the mental capacity to say, yes, I'm ready to be famous, or I want to be a star, an actor the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't think that's fair.
So let's tie that into your podcast, because you talk to mothers and often daughters together on your Uber podcast show, Motherhood in Hollywood. And so what have you learned from all of those women who are raising kids just like you are, I am, that would champion, you know, their daughters or their family members or other girlfriends who are wanting to get into this life?
Well, I think the one thing I've learned is that everybody's story is different. Everybody has a different perspective based on how they were raised, what their financial situation is in life. You know, for a while, I was obsessed with interviewing like stars, celebrity moms.
Okay.
And I started realizing all of them have the same story. They have a nanny, a full-time nanny that helps them. They have an on-set nanny, they have an assistant, and they have a beautiful, clean house. And I'm like, that's not super relatable to me or most of the people that I know. And I was like, while this story is interesting and their story is valid because they worked hard and they got to where they are, and that is absolutely deserving, it's not super relatable to everybody else. So I started really reaching out and making an effort to interview all different kinds of moms and dads in the entertainment industry, from stylists to makeup artists to producers, directors, because everybody's story is different and unique. And if anything, I have learned to be less judgmental of people's choices. You know, a lot of people say, oh, don't judge. Well, it's in our nature to judge. And if people are saying, I never judge anybody, you're a big fat liar. Everybody just naturally, the minute you meet somebody, you make an instant judgment based on how they look. And then you get to know them. Now, what you do with that judgment really says a lot about your character, you know, but everybody judges. Everybody judges. And I have learned to not let that judgment affect how I treat people and how I tell their story. It's really easy to see somebody's perfect life or what you perceive to be their perfect life without hearing their story and getting to know them. And I hope that Motherhood in Hollywood has given people more of a perspective on what women in Hollywood are like, because it isn't all celebrities who have full-time nannies and, you know, a lot of help and a lot of financial comfort. It definitely isn't like that. That is a very, very small percentage of the women and mothers in Hollywood. Most of the moms that I know are working moms who have sometimes 2 or 3 jobs. Sometimes they are in the creative industry. Sometimes they're baristas, you know, whatever they have to do to make their family life work and survive while also following their dreams. And that is the honest to goodness struggle here. Is this is a dream for so many people in Hollywood, but also, you know, actors all around the world. You want to be an actor, you want to perform, you want to entertain. And you also, some of them also want to be parents and have a family. And you, just because you love acting doesn't mean you love your family or your kid any less.
Of course.
And so it's a constant struggle between breaking into one of the hardest industries in the world.
It is.
And maintaining your family life. So that's what I've tried to do with Motherhood in Hollywood. Did somebody just come in here?
So open the door.
I think
it
might have been Channing just peeking in.
She can come on in. She's a stellar girl. Come on in, girl.
I think she was probably just like, what are you doing? She's supposed to be in class, little stinker.
I know. Well, you guys are you hybrid? Or are you guys all in school yet?
We're hybrid. She goes to school 2 days a week. But it's only for like 3 hours. So it's like, what is the point of this? By the time we drop her off, come home, do a couple things, and we got to go right back and pick her up. So she does that 2 days a week. And then the rest of the time she's still here, but she only has 3 weeks left of school. And then it's summer break out here. I don't remember when I was growing up, I don't remember school going like halfway into June, the school year. I feel like we were done in May. Yes. I don't know about you or how it was in Canada, but like, I feel like we were done in May. Her school goes almost to the mid-June. It's weird.
Yeah, we have a couple in elementary school that go to the first week of June, but my high schoolers are done before Labor Day. So I guess it all depends. In Canada, we start right after Labor Day.
Okay.
And then, but we don't have Memorial Day in Canada. Mm-hmm. So we just kind of go to the end of May and call it good.
I'd be like, you good? We're good.
Yeah, we're all good.
Enjoy the warm weather.
Yeah. There's very little of that up there, actually.
Right.
If you're on the West Coast. Otherwise it's pretty much, chilly all year round, but
right.
Make do. We absolutely make do. So on your little tagline, when you are your outro, and also in your intro of your Motherhood in Hollywood podcast, you say, I'm not the perfect mom, but I can play a perfect mom on TV. Yes. And I love that, because that's what you were just talking about, that, it's a misconception of that everyone's got this perfect life out there, and it's really not that, and everything's a struggle, and you're chasing that dream. And, we at Stellar Girl believe in championing all those women who are chasing their dreams, who have made it, and to tell their stories and let their journeys unfold. Because we can't, not everyone has access to the people that you've interviewed, the Nicole Kidmans of the world. And so it's nice to be able to chat with real, authentic women who are making it, who've created product, who are in your field of work as an actress, as a, journalist, as an influencer. There's so many people that we can have on this platform that have inspired me truly. So let's go there. Stellar Girl is the mindset of championing other women. So who has championed you, and do you surround yourself with people that are like you and who want the best for you and that will champion you?
I've been very lucky to have some incredible women in my life.
That's awesome.
Who may not have realized it at the time, but did make a huge difference in my career and my trajectory. One of them is my boss. She's now on the NBC national team, but my boss at NBC-LA was a woman, and she really empowered me to take control of my content and my job. And she was like, you have 20 years of journalism experience. You know what you're doing. I trust that you can do a good job, and really empowered me in that way. And I'm so grateful for that. I've had a couple of friends who are in publicity and PR who have championed me from the inside. See, that's something, it's one thing to tell someone to their face, like, you got this, you can do it. But to have somebody behind the scenes saying that to other people, who's great? Heather Brooker. You should really reach out to Heather. She does a really good job with hosting and interviewing. To have somebody behind the scenes also championing you makes a world of difference.
100%.
And that's something I think we forget to do as women. And if, I know I forget to do this too. So it's a good reminder, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. But we get so focused sometimes on our goals. Like, I want to have X amount of downloads on my podcast. I want to have X amount of followers on Instagram. You get so focused in reaching your goals that you forget to uplift other people. And I don't mean just like resharing their content, going, you go girl, but in private conversations with people. Who would be wonderful for an interview is Danielle from City Girl Gone Mom. Like, she's created this amazing, platform for her kids, and really supports her kids. Like, we forget to do that instead of just making a public display of, hey, look, I'm pro lady, I'm championing them on my Instagram. We forget that those behind the scenes conversations are just as important. And so I've been super grateful and super, lucky to have some women in my life who have not just made a public display of supporting me, but gone behind the scenes and gone to bat for me.
They're your hype girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need hype girls for sure. And again, it doesn't have to be like, I'm going to write a blog post about it. I'm going to tell everyone how amazing this person is. You can just mention it to somebody else who is in a position of power about this person,
a simple hookup, a simple email, like introduce
a connection.
Them.
Sure.
Yes. And we forget about that. I mean, we say, oh yeah, let's champion each other and support each other, but are we truly actually doing it? And I really appreciate your answer, because it's very true. We have to go behind the scenes and not just say it out loud on Instagram and TikTok and Reels and everything else that we try to do.
It's not just about like the shout out online, and that is important. But,
yes, of course.
But it is just the conversations and connections behind the scenes as well. That's important.
So let's talk about your social media channel, because I want to plug that as much as possible, because I find joy in what you post.
I'm so glad.
And that is, I don't know if that's your goal, to entertain.
It is. Okay. It is my goal. So that makes me so happy to hear that. My goal is to just bring joy whenever possible. The world, especially the past few years, has been so divisive and so negative and so heavy and so heavy. And, people in the last year, especially during the political season, were like, why don't you post about politics? And why don't you come out and stand for this and stand for this? And I'm like, I'm happy to have that conversation with you. But there are so many, one-on-one, but there are so many platforms that people can go to get the news, to get their, get their commentary, to get, whatever. I want to be that spot of joy just for a second, like just come and laugh at something I've done, or take a look at me in my cheesy, like product post, like, hey, like whatever, just have a moment
with your Tula filter.
Right. My Tula filter primer, everybody use Heather Brooker code for 15% off.
Do it.
But like just that moment of like, oh my gosh, she's living her best life, like just enjoy that. Cause I just feel like the world can be so heavy sometimes, and it's okay to want to be the bright spot or try to be a bright spot for people. You don't have to, and that doesn't mean you don't stand for things.
Correct.
Or don't have opinions and passions about, politics and healthcare and all of those things. It's just not what I've chosen to be and have on my platform. And that's, and if everybody doesn't like it, that's okay. They don't have to follow me,
But I do you do have authentic followers. You truly do. And that's something that a lot of people don't talk about, that you've actually did a whole podcast about that, the reality show and how some are, bots by bots and et cetera. But I mean, and it is nice to bring joy into people's life, because at STELLARGIRL, we talk about, how to exemplify that, how to follow your passions, but have fun while doing it, and how we can create this movement and a brand at the same time. And what brings me joy is glitter, sparkle, shine. And so I created a glimmer lotion out of a do-it-yourself routine, because it makes me happy, because in this world that we live in these days, it's nice to have that bright light, and you're that for me. So any of these listeners don't follow Heather Brooker, please do so. We will tag her on everything when we air this and post this. You make me laugh. I love that you travel with your family, and congratulations on your 20th year anniversary with your husband. And where do you want to go next? Let's just ask that last question before we sign off.
In terms of travel?
Yeah. Where do you want to go?
Well, we are definitely going to Disneyland now that Disneyland's opening. And then I think we're looking at some places in places in Mexico in July. Okay. So we'll see. And I mean, it's okay if we don't go anywhere. We're also just happy to, go to the pool, our country club pool or whatever. Yeah, I say country club, that makes me sound bougie, but it's not that expensive. But
you can be bougie.
But like, we're also happy to just like chill at home. So yeah, we're thinking about going to somewhere in Mexico in July, but we'll see. It's expensive to travel, so we have to save up.
It is. Well, yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Speaking Stellar Girl. You are a stellar girl to me, and thank you for making me laugh every day on TikTok and on Instagram. And I really appreciate that you came on today and spoke a little bit of stellar girlness with me.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I wish you much success with your show and everything. So it's great.
Thank you so much. See you on the other side.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that bell icon to be notified of new episodes. To learn more about the Stellar Girl movement, please visit us at stellargirl.com.